This is the Johnny Cleveland Podcast, all things Cleveland sports, with your host, John Suchan. Hey, and good evening, and welcome to another episode of the Johnny Cleveland Podcast, part of the Fanatical Elves Network and Fans First. How are you on this Tuesday evening? Right, we're Tuesday. See if I can find So I was had a show the other night with our post game after the Packer Browns game with Steve Gill, Dog Pound South colleague, and I had found some music for that intro. So let me see if I can find that real quick here. Have that playing in the background. Kind of some classical music here. Where did it go? Oh, here we go. Let's see if I can get this to run here. Hope you're doing well. Yeah, it's Tuesday night. If you're a Browns fan, you are. Oh, got the music going. I'm going to turn it down. You're probably getting all sorts of bits of information on this day because it started out with Michael Hall, the second round pick of the Browns this past draft. I believe he's second round. He had quite the evening Monday night and landed himself in jail today. He's been released on bond, but the circumstances surrounding what happened and why he ended up in jail are very disturbing and have caught a lot of Browns fans off guard today. And of course, there's always two sides to every story. But there is a police report that was released that was very specific to some of the allegations that occurred. He's being charged with the domestic incident that happened at his home in Avon with his girlfriend and their young children. My understanding is from reading that Michael Hall's girlfriend has a 5-year-old son. I don't know if that son was there. I believe he was there. It's not Michael's son, but that they also have a 11-month-old child together, or a newborn. No, not a newborn, but I think he's 11 months is what I read. So there was an incident. And if you're a Cleveland Browns fan, you probably have read enough about it. I'm not going to get into all the details, but it's quite concerning. And like I said, I know there are always two sides to a story, and us here at the Fanatical Elves, various colleagues, we all have various opinions about what happened and how you move forward. And obviously it's a legal system, it's a justice system, and we'll see how things go. But on the outside looking in and reading police reports, which I know they're police reports, but there's a lot of evidence and a lot of things that concretely happened in this incident that seem pretty like, yeah, things happened. Now, if you get into a lot of the other stuff and you go back and look at Michael Hall and him being drafted by the Browns and all these things, there was a lot of conversation, as you recall, if you followed the draft and whatnot, where Michael Hall would be drafted. And at the time when the Browns drafted him, there was a lot of euphoria, a lot of excitement. He's a Buckeye just down the road again. The Browns look like they got a real secret weapon. Everything we've been hearing about recently about his play on the field and him getting better from other veteran players who've worked with other young players over the years have suggested that Michael Hall was really starting to do some great things and could potentially be another great player. I think, those things were real. But there's a lot of backstory too to Michael Hall. He is 21 years old. It's very young. But when you read some of the draft things that happened back in the day, there were some things that were reported back then that other teams were not real high on Michael Hall because there was some concern about his maturity. And if you are a Buckeye fan and you're here in Columbus, what we heard here in Columbus on sports radios and things like that was that Michael Hall, there were some things going on there. He had kind of a down. Was he a junior? I think he played 3 years. So he had 1 year where he didn't do so many things. And, thus there was this, why wasn't he drafted in the first round? Browns got him. We feel like we've got a good player in that draft. But now things have changed. Things have really changed. And if you're a Browns fan and you're just going to ignore, and I know you'll say, well, players do these things and it's just ignored. It's passed on. There's all sorts of examples of players, including players that the Browns have brought in. Most recently, Kareem Hunt. Kareem Hunt, running back for the Browns over the last several years, had a great career starting out in Kansas City. Rookie of the year, rushing title leader. But then he was caught on video, in a domestic issue there. The Browns brought him back. He's a local kid again. Things seemed like they were better for him over the last several years in regards to Kareem Hunt. But now we get another player. Now this goes, we have other players, Perrion Winfrey, the kid that they drafted out of Oklahoma. Just not a good moment. He was cut immediately. Now that's interesting tonight that the Browns, did not cut Michael Hall yet. Some people are calling for that. You can have that knee-jerk reaction, which, I was thinking that too, in the back of my mind, like, you read some of these things and it's like, wow. So he was charged with this domestic issue, but they counted as a misdemeanor. Apparently those instances can go up. It can be more severe, but they initially have charged him with a misdemeanor, which some people were a little bit taken aback by that, considering what they read in these police reports. And again, these are police reports. They're not, they're people's, what they thought at the moment happened, and they're reporting and the police are reporting what they saw and witnessed. So lots of things to dissect with this, but it is very concerning. And if you're a Browns fan, I think this team needs to continue to move forward, but it's not my team. But you get players like this on your team and they're young and they're immature. I think there's other things that you need to move on from. And we'll see how it all plays out. But I'm hoping that the Browns do what they need to do. They've already got a lot of people that have been fans or no longer fans and have lost some fans because of other issues that have popped up with this team over the last couple of seasons. The one being Deshaun Watson, their quarterback right now, who's had a plethora of issues off the field as well. So we'll see what happens next. Stay tuned. Now, the other big news, if you haven't been living under a rock, let's pause here for a quick break. This is the Johnny Cleveland podcast, part of Fans First Sports Network. I'm your host, John Suchan, and we'll be right back after these commercials. We're back on the Johnny Cleveland podcast, part of Fans First. And the Fanatical Elves, we want to thank you again for following us. Apple, Spotify, all those audio podcasts, that's where we make pennies. And we really appreciate you following us and doing those things, spreading the love, spreading the word. We give away free stuff here, folks. If you haven't paid attention, if you're not on the X, you need to, if you follow us, because you'd be surprised. We give away lots of things. We're going to give away another pair of tickets. Yeah, for this Saturday against the Minnesota Vikings. Home game again at 4:30 down at the stadium. 2 tickets. We're going to be giving those away on the Fanatical Elves show Thursday night, a little bit after 9 o'clock. So tune back into us, and we'll be giving those tickets away. We gave the 2 tickets away last week to the Green Bay, and had the fan that got those tickets really appreciated those seats, and said that they had a great time. And so we're real happy that we can do these things for you guys. So if you're a Browns fan and you don't have season tickets, or you want to go down to the game, I know it's preseason, but you're going to see, some good football. You're going to see some of these guys who are really fighting for these positions to make the final 53-man roster. And that's important. And it's worth it. It's a Saturday. So if you want those tickets, then make sure to stay tuned. After the show tonight, I'll be posting this message, and then all you have to do is follow us and repost, and we're good to go. All right, the other big news, let me grab a sip of my Diet Coke. Yes, we love Diet Coke here. While we take a break here, while I drink my Diet Coke, do you like that classical music in the background? Can you guys even hear it? It's keeping me motivated. It's driving that music. Listen to this. Isn't this awesome? Look, you feel like you want to run through a wall, right? All right. So the other news that has been in the news a lot with the Brownies is this dome, Brook Park. This, over the last weekend, the city of Cleveland had given the Haslams like a deadline. I think it was yesterday, to make a decision, or to get a reaction from them. Well, the Haslams, in the meantime, they sent that letter, and then they sent the rendering to everybody so that they could see, all those fans, what their plans were for this dome. And it's immaculate. Well, then in the meantime, Sunday afternoon, the county, Cuyahoga County, came out and said, well, we can't support this new project in Brook Park. So today, we're all sitting here going, well, what does this all mean? Well, if you start listening to some folks around Cleveland and Northeast Ohio, other podcasters, other news channels, it's, the Haslams are willing to give, they're bazillionaires, right? We all know they got a plethora of money. So in this letter, originally, they said that they would be giving at least, $2.2 million of their own money, privately funded their own money, to this project in Brook Park. And the project, I think, is going to cost somewhere to $3.6 billion. So they're basically putting 2/3 of the money forward. So they would need an additional $1 billion from other places. Could they be Brook Park? Or the county? Or how's that all going to work? We don't quite know all the details there. But in this letter that the county wrote back to the Browns, they said they can't support the Browns' pursuit of going to Brook Park. They're saying they're not willing to support that, but they're willing to put $1 billion toward the project in downtown Cleveland to renovate the stadium that was built back in 99 or 98. And it was built too quickly on a foundation, like Lou Marconi and I have been talking about, and many of us on the Fanatical Owls, like this. It was built on the original, where the stadium was, the original municipal stadium. And someone pointed out today in one of the sports channels up there in Cleveland that the plumbing for that stadium was built in the 1920s or 30s. It's the same system. And there's nothing but landfill. That's what the stadium is built on currently. And other people up there in Cleveland have lived there for 40 or 50 years have also reminded everybody that we've been talking about doing something different, or building a dome up along the lake shore for decades. Nothing has happened. So we get this stadium, but they want to, the county is willing to put $1 billion toward the project downtown, but they're not willing to put the $1 billion toward the project in Brook Park. What's up? I mean, the Brook Park Dome is going to go forward. I don't know how. You don't know how. We don't all know how yet. But the Haslams, shoot, they'll come up with the other $1 billion probably. Push comes to shove. But I mean, right now you got it's just silly, right? Why again are the city folks in Cleveland? Why are the county folks trying to be difficult? It's a win-win right now. I mean, go with the flow here and understand, county folks, that you're creating something spectacular in your county. So we'll find out what happens, but there's going to be some decisions that are going to have to be made. And I look again for that dome to be built in Brook Park. I think most people are, but the county coming out this weekend and saying that they can't support it, but they're willing to put the $1 billion toward the project downtown doesn't make any sense. So I don't know exactly. No, my dad was a city planning director, from the city of Worcester for years. So, I mean, I know there's some things that are probably we don't quite get because we're not privy to some of that information. So there's a lot of speculation, and all we're thinking about is that the plumbing system is bad. Like I just said, down at the stadium currently. We don't know all the details, and we don't know maybe what kind of conversations are going on behind closed doors or private conversations on phone calls between the Haslams and everybody else. So it's a little bit of a, public dispute going on right now, getting everybody a little bit teed off a little bit, but hopefully we can have calmer heads. People can kind of chill and not be so at each other, right? I mean, gosh, the advantages are so grand right now. So we'll see what happens, but it has been very interesting. Now, in other news for the Brownies, they cut a few players. One player in particular that they cut that surprised me, maybe it surprised you, was our preseason running back superhero over the last several years, John Kelly. I don't know if you saw, he did get in a couple plays in that first game against Green Bay. He was cut yesterday. Guess who picked him up? Maybe you saw it, maybe you didn't. Yep, those damn Ratbirds, Baltimore, picked him up. So we'll see. Good luck to John Kelly. We enjoyed having him here for years. It's kind of a sucker punch that he's going to the Ratbirds, but we'll move on. Getting rid of that running back, Lou and I were talking on the Stirring the Pot show last night. Would that mean that, Nick Chubb, could they be bringing him off here sooner than later, eventually have a spot for him? So things to think about. In other news, other Cleveland news, by the way, the Guardians, congratulations to the Guards. Man, I'm telling you, they lost 7 in a row. And I thought it might be done. I think a lot of Cleveland fans thought, this is going to be tough. But they won 3 in a row. They came back and split the series with the Minnesota Twins up in Minnesota. And then they beat the Chicago Cubs yesterday. They were losing, then got the lead. Big lead, like 7-3, 8-3, and then they let the Cubs back in. Tonight, they're winning. It's the middle of the 8th inning. They're going to the bottom of the 8th, maybe? They're going to the top of the 8th with the Tribe up 2-1. Yeah, the Guards, the Tribe. The Indians are winning again, 2-1. They actually have the best record in baseball right now. There's 70 wins, 49 losses. Good job to them. So that's good news. I'm still working on an article. The Cavs, not much going on with Cavs news other than, Kenny Atkinson was helping out with the French team. He's back. I'm working on this article about Kenny and why he's going to be so much better of a coach. You all know why he's a better coach, because J.B. Bickerstaff was a moron. So it's not hard to be better than a moron. And Kenny Atkinson will provide a spark to the Cavs that I think is going to get the Cavs very far. And if my buddy Dean Wade can stay healthy, and there was a good article about Dean the other day. I'm not sure where it came out of, Sports Illustrated or whatnot, saying how, he could be that secret weapon. I know some of you don't follow the Cavs very much, or even if you do follow the Cavs, aren't big Dean Wade fans, but Dean Wade is an excellent player and could be a difference maker. He's been injured the last 2 seasons. He's only played in 40 games and 50 games respectively. And if he can stay healthy, he's a legitimate threat. And I think Kenny Atkinson can get a lot out of him and a lot out of these other players. I can't wait to see him play like Darius Garland play under Kenny Atkinson's coaching, because Kenny Atkinson the coach of the Cavs now, has talked a lot about how he loved Darius Garland when he was initially, or before he was even drafted. And I can't wait to see what he can do to motivate him. So excited to see that. We got lots of more shows this week. I know Steve Gill already did his Dog Pound South show. Lou's going to be doing his Burning River Browns Friday night show. Noah Olson's doing his East Bank show. We've got the Browns breakdowns with Sam. Jarrell Flint will be coming on with the dog food radio show. And we can't forget about Rod Bloom, our buddy Rod Bloom, doing his Browns Blitz. So he'll be coming on later this week. We'll keep you posted on anything that comes up with Michael Hall, with the Brownies. Kind of just a bummer of a day. It was not the news that I think anybody was planning on hearing today. And I think it's kind of a slap in the face. And I think the Browns have got to make some decisions, and that they might be difficult ones. But if this team, and I think, there's been some criticism out there in social media about Andrew Berry and some of the picks that he's made, including Michael Hall and some of these controversial players. And also, his Andrew Berry picking some of these players that are on the defensive line in the draft that have not really worked out. So again, it's concerning. I don't know if Andrew Berry deserves all the criticism, but the wins come with the losses. And if this team does not improve on what happened last year, and especially with a healthy Deshaun Watson, knock on wood that he stays healthy, if they go in reverse, it's going to be a long season. I know I saw, who was it? Tony Rizzo of ESPN Radio had a little clip on the X or this morning about his concern with some of the things that are happening. As Jedrick Wills, again, not ready to go. James Hudson, who he should be just gone. There's some real wonderings of what's going to happen with this offensive line, and can it hold up? And we're approaching week 1 of the season, and our offensive line is concerning. Now, on the defensive line, or the offensive line also, Luke Wimpler went down, but they did bring back Nick Harris from Seattle, so that's a positive. But lots of questions. I think this time of the year, it's still kind of the silly season. We have a lot of time on our hands thinking about the Browns. We haven't hit that point where we're actually watching the games and seeing how they actually perform under extreme circumstances. So we'll see what happens this season. I think we're all very excited, and we're all very hopeful as Browns fans. So thank you again for tuning in to the Johnny Cleveland podcast. We'll be back again next week. Thanks again. And remember, I always remind you on the Johnny Cleveland podcast to keep smiling. Take care, everybody. Go Brownies. Let's see if I can get my mouse to work again. Oh, let's see. Is it going to work? It is. See you guys.